All right, well, welcome everybody to this special presentation. My name is Kelly Carson. I am a proud alumnus of Genesee Community College. I actually graduated in 1989. I was a big part of the radio station. That's what I went to college for, and happily that's what I am doing. I currently work for WCJW in Warsaw, and partly due to all the training I got at GCC, I do a lot of different jobs there. I actually have an on-air shift. I sell advertising, I produce commercials, I fill in and do news, and a lot of that stuff I did while I was at GCC. So thankful for my education there. And it's nice to see everybody here. This is a special edition of Connecting with GCC. It's hosted by the Alumni Council. We've got 5 distinguished alumni that are joining us, and we're going to be discussing having success in the pandemic. This is actually, obviously thrown all of us for a loop, but a lot of people have figured out how to kind of use the situation to their advantage and how to find success in that. So we're going to get some ideas on that from our panelists, and all of our panelists are also GCC alums. So that's really very exciting. So start us off, I'm going to introduce you to Justin Johnson. He's our Vice President of Development and External Affairs at Genesee Community College. Hi, Justin.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to first thank you all for being here, taking the time away to be part of this, and to thank especially those on the staff, and as well as the panelists that you'll hear from in a little bit, who've been planning this for the past few months to bring this program to you. I won't take too much of your time because I do want to make sure that we stick to the time schedule. We have a lot of good questions and hopefully some great dialogue for you tonight. I just wanted to let you know that we have so many great alumni out there doing so many great things. And that statement has rung true through the test of time, but it rings even louder now during the pandemic. So many of our alumni are on the front lines and are doing things, be that in education, healthcare, business, doing things to really change the way that their communities are being served, standing out, being leaders. And so many of our GCC alumni from various generations and various levels of employment are here to talk to you tonight about ways that you can advance in your career, move forward, despite the challenges that we're facing right now. These are certainly unprecedented times, to say the least. But through those times, there are opportunities to grow, and there are opportunities to maybe take risks that you might not have taken, or go a little bit out of your comfort zone. And I'm very excited to hear from the panelists and the alumni that we have tonight. And I'm very excited and thankful as well for Kelly for moderating, and Kelly as well as one of our alumni. So all of our panelists and our moderator are all proud GCC alums. And with that, I'll turn it back to Kelly to give a little bit of an introduction of the panelists, and then we will get right into it. Thanks.
All right, Justin, thank you very much. And I'm very happy to be here too. So thank you again to Jennifer, who invited me to take part in this. So thank you so much. I'd like to introduce you to our panel. If you would like to wave and let everybody know who you are. Our first panelist is Janelle Baker. She graduated from GCC, hello Janelle, and she's currently a 5th grade teacher in Warsaw. And of course, we know education has taken a real weird turn with this whole pandemic thing. So it'll be interesting to talk to Janelle and find out how she's coping with that. Our next panelist is Bernadette Barnes. Where's Bernadette? There she is. And she's currently the Women's Care Nurse Manager at Rochester Regional Health with United Memorial Medical Care. So hello, Bernadette. Thanks for being here today. Trace George. Hello, Trace. There Hello. He is. Hi. He is the owner of VSP Graphics. It's going to be very interesting to talk to him to see how the pandemic has affected your business and what you're doing to handle that. That'll be great to hear. We also have Dr. John McGowan. Hi, John. There he is. He is the director of GCC Business Employee Skills and Training Center. Going to be great to talk to him. I bet you he's got some great ideas on how we can work with the situation as it is during the pandemic to show success for your business. Did I get everybody for the panelists? I think so.
No, not me.
No, not you? Who did I miss? Macy? Oh, sorry about that, Macy. You're not on this one list. So let's see where we got you here. I apologize. So Macy, pronounce your last name for me. I'm going to butcher it. I'm sorry.
Rheingau.
Rheingau. Oh, that's not so bad. And tell us what you're doing now, because I don't have that on my sheet here. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem. So I actually took ACE courses in high school. So that is my, connection to GCC. And
Oh, okay.
yeah. And I am now the counselor at GCC as well.
That's great. It must be fun for you after going to school there to be able to be working there as well. It's such a great environment there.
Mhm.
So that must be really fun for you. Anybody else that I missed? No? Okay. All right. With that being said, let's get started. We're going to start with Janelle. Where's Janelle? There she is. Sorry about that, Janelle. So again, Janelle, tell us a little bit about what you do in the professional world right now.
Okay, so my background is I graduated from GCC in 2004, and I transferred to SUNY Fredonia. And I was really grateful for GCC to be able to give me the confidence that I needed to go to a SUNY school, because I will admit at first I didn't think I was ready, but I'm so thankful for that experience. I was able to play softball at GCC, and I really was immersed in the culture there, and it really gave me confidence. So currently right now, I'm a 5th grade teacher in my hometown of Warsaw, New York. I previously taught 9 years in the Holly Central School District as a 5th grade teacher, and then I did some 6th grade as well. I received my master's degree in 2009, and I just really enjoy what I do, but we definitely had our ups and downs this last year.
Absolutely. And I totally agree, because I actually grew up in a small town and going to GCC first, and I actually transferred to Fredonia as well, another great school. But GCC was a nice transition from high school to college. I thought I really enjoyed the personal contact with the professor. They were so involved, and it was a great school. I loved it. Mm-hmm. So my first question for you is, what is one leadership skill that you have adapted in 2020 as far as during the pandemic?
I think as an educator, my mantra has been resilience, because I feel as if we weren't resilient, we couldn't come back and do our job that we do every day. And not only as a teacher, but I see it in our students too. I mean, for them to be completely shut down last March and then to come back in September and just be so ready and eager is really encouraging. So I think it starts with the educators, though. You really have to show that you can move forward during difficult times. And, you really do have two options. You can stay where you are, or you can press on. And I think that's one of the things that has gotten me through. One of my favorite quotes is that resilient leaders are capable of retaining their energy level under strain and responding to disruptive changes. And you can bet that this pandemic has been a disruptive change in the world of education. So within that, I think I learned how to do good work during a difficult time.
It's wonderful. So there were many challenges during the pandemic. So how are you balancing your home life and your career? And I got to imagine this is a good, big challenge for you, because you probably had to do some teaching from home, right?
Absolutely. As a teacher, you never really have time off. You're constantly worried about your students, especially when something like this happens. You can't see them every day and be physically with them. So that was the biggest challenge, and trying to be able to still have that connection with them and for them to know that you still care, even though, we were virtual. I was lucky enough where the grade level I taught, our students are one-to-one with devices. So I was making videos at like 1 a.m. and trying to upload them. It was a battle trying to figure out, should the students be on at a certain time, or should I record myself and then send it out to our students? So we were very fortunate to have that. But in terms of my family, I am also lucky enough that my husband teaches in the same school district. So
Oh,
he kind
nice.
of understands what I go through, and our children also attend the same school. So there is a time though that you have to turn it off. You have to try. And so at home, when I'm home, I try to put my phone away, put my email away, unless it's an emergency, of course. But I think trying to find, your balance between work and home, it's difficult, especially when, you want to answer the email at 8 o'clock at night, or you want to respond to a parent. But sometimes you just have to know that when you're at home, your attention should be with your family. And so that's been a struggle for me, but we're trying to find ways to do that, weekends and things like that as well.
There you go. Love it. What was an unanticipated positive silver lining as a result of the pandemic?
In education, you really had to immerse yourself in the technology. So it was either you go for it or you're going to maybe be in trouble. So as a fifth grade teacher, I was, like I said, lucky enough to have my students have their devices. So having that, I was able to learn a lot about technology, to the point where I was asked by my district to join a committee in the summer to help create videos and tutorials to help teachers who maybe don't know how to do a lot via Zoom or with technology. So I learned a lot. And I think it's helpful too when you learn from another educator, because we were all kind of, starting at the same place. But I felt like I could be productive, and it gave me a purpose too. The other thing that I found just as a personal benefit was it allowed for more family time, which
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of. I have 3 kids and they keep me running. So while some people might find that a negative, it was definitely positive for us to kind of press pause and be able to enjoy each other's company instead of just see each other in passing.
That's funny that you say that, because my kids were kind of loving it too at the beginning, because I actually started cooking more. So,
Yeah.
so they're like, "Oh, Mom, you know how to cook." How should people think about career development while working remotely, do you think?
There's many opportunities to make yourself better during situations like this. I think if you even search out something you can do, simple things like go for advanced courses or pick up a new skill, or have watch videos to improve your craft. There's lots of different ways that you can do that. So I think if you focus on like a goal, it will help you narrow your search results if you're looking on the internet, or come up with different strategies to help yourself. As an educator, I looked at a lot of different PD that was offered. And one of the things that I looked at a lot was trauma in students. And I was able to see that, this isn't just a one-day fix for students. Like, it's not going to be just magically over one day. There are lasting effects here. And so being able to look at the bigger picture and seeing the children as whole made it a little bit easier for me to narrow my focus. Like, I need to do what I can as an educator to love my students, but also understand where they're coming from and be empathetic, because not everybody feels the same about this. Not everybody feels safe. Not everybody feels comfortable. And I think carrying that into my teaching has really helped. So I think looking at your career remotely, I think it's important to just have a goal and focus on it and kind of see how you can make yourself better.
Awesome. And Janelle, you're going to be available after our whole session here for questions, if people have questions for you. That was all great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Our second panelist, Bernadette Barnes. Again, she is the Women's Care Nurse Manager at Rochester Regional Health at United Memorial Medical Center. Bernadette, thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, thank you so much.
I got to imagine with the medical field, this has been a whirlwind for you.
It sure has. It absolutely has. I've been at United Memorial now for about 12 years. Really believe in community medicine and glad that I've been there for that long. Received my bachelor's and my master's while working there. Started as a ICU nurse as a new grad and worked up through supervision, ED and ICU leadership. And currently, as you said, the manager of women's care. But during COVID, wave 1 and wave 2, I was asked to redeploy, which is what a lot of our staff had to do. And I'm no exception, even in management. So during wave one, I was redeployed to be the manager of the COVID tents that we had in the parking lot at United Memorial. So the drive-through COVID operations there. And that was in March through June of last year. And during wave two, I've been asked to assist the inpatient departments, which really were hit hard with a lot of sick and COVID positive patients. That was December just through February, just ended that tour of duty. So
Wow.
I am the manager right now of women's care until next week, where I will be interim director of surgical services, kind of helping our surgery departments re-ramp up post-COVID.
Wow. So you're doing a lot of different, wearing a lot of different hats through this whole ordeal.
You know, that is the great part of healthcare, is you do have a lot of different avenues to go down.
Definitely. So let me ask you some of the same questions. First of all, what is one leadership skill you adapted during 2020?
I think the biggest one for me was team building of teams. So with the COVID redeployments that I had, I was tasked to bring together a lot of different departments, a lot of different staff throughout the entire organization. So like orthopedic staff, the emergency department, OR, all kind of came together through their own redeployments to figure out how we were going to take care of this population. So rallying together people who have not worked together and have very different skill sets, it really gave me a great opportunity to find those commonalities between people and bond us all together for one purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Now, how do you balance home life and career? I got to imagine you're probably working many more hours than you're used to right now.
I do work quite a bit, and this definitely is a struggle for me. When I saw that question, I was like, oh dear, that's a struggle. I tend to find I'm not alone in that. In the world of healthcare, your personal and your professional mixes quite a bit, especially during a pandemic, where you become a resource to your family and friends, and a lot of questions after hours, and a lot of questions about what's going on from an insider's view. And then often your personal friends become part of your profession. They're the people you work with every day, that you're on the front lines with, that you develop bonds with, that become your friends outside of work. So there's always a mix going on. I would agree with Janelle. I think that the most important skill I've learned is to shut off. When I go home at night, emails linked to my phone, it's, my work computer comes with me. There has to be a point at which, whether it's 7 o'clock at night, or if I'm working night shift, 7 o'clock in the morning, that I turn off the phone, turn off the notifications, and say, I need to do a little self-care.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important. What was an unanticipated positive silver lining that you found with the pandemic?
I think, if I can say, my favorite part of the pandemic is that it was a good reminder for me of why I got into healthcare in the first place. I've always kind of known I would go down a leadership pathway. I'm a nurse through and through, though, at my core, taking care of people. I'm a critical care background. I still get that a little adrenaline rush when taking care of sick patients. That's the core of who I am, is a nurse. So getting the opportunity to get back to my roots and remember that the bottom line is the human life. The financial bottom line is not where it's at. It's the human life that's behind it. That's someone's family member, someone's friend, my own family members and friends that I'm taking care of, because we're in a community hospital. So it was a good opportunity for me to remember why I got into healthcare.
Well, I'm sorry. I speak for everybody when I say we're so appreciative of you and all the other nurses and doctors out there for what you do, because, oh my goodness, where would we be without you?
There are so many great people that pulled together. It's amazing.
Yes, it's wonderful. So thank you very much for what you're doing.
You're welcome.
How should people think about career development while they work remotely?
So in healthcare, I think we had an opportunity to think a little more creatively. I got immersed in the world of telemedicine, which was something that was new to us in my practices. We hadn't really ventured into that before. It had started to be a practice that a lot of organizations were taking on, but we hadn't started it yet. As a community hospital, we were still having people come in regularly for their appointments. So telemedicine was really an area of growth for my team, in that we were able to provide care without endangering them by bringing them into, a population where they could get exposed to COVID, while still providing great care, still providing great contact time, similar to the Zoom session we're doing right now with your provider. Also, it's been a great chance to practice some self-discipline. When you are not necessarily in the typical workplace setting and you're sitting at home doing work, or you're sitting in a remote location, it challenges you to really stay on task, because you don't have someone, right on top of you, or a point person. You really have to take that initiative within yourself to keep to task.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you being here, Bernadette. Thank you very, very much. And again, Bernadette will be available at the end if you have questions for her. I'm sure maybe we have some nursing students watching this right now. So Bernadette, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, our next panelist is Trace George, and he is the owner of VSP Graphics. Hello there, Trace. Oh, I think you're still on mute.
Oh, hello. I'm sorry. That fuzzy thing. No, how's everybody tonight? I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to participate, and excited to give a little bit of tidbits on my perspective as a business owner during this pandemic time. I'm a 1995 grad, GCC, and I started my company in 1995. So we are in our 25th anniversary this year. We are a generational company now. I have 3 sons in the business. One or two of them, yes, 2 of them are GCC students or graduates. And we've come a long ways. We started in a little town in North Haven, New York, and worked our way into West Seneca. And we now have locations in West Palm Beach, and we serve Seattle and Los Angeles. A lot has been thrown our way just this year, but we learned to become a more efficient company and a better company.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you the same questions I asked the first 2 panelists. What is one leadership skill you adapted in 2020?
It'd be actually maybe 2 leadership skills that come to mind, because the curveball that was thrown to us a year ago, actually yesterday, to this company, was that I learned to be more positive and more creative, with not just myself, but with my staff. We found many key areas to find information on COVID protocols and opportunities that were available to small business. And I had to keep at the helm and keep in control by staying positive. The one thing that we had to avoid as a leader too is to avoid speculation. I had to take some risk, and there was of course perceptions that maybe the company was struggling because we had to let a few employees go. But I stayed very positive and very creative. We reached out to many resources in our network, such as banks, such as HR managers, accountants. And with that being said, I stayed positive by getting constantly bombarded with real information in a real-time manner. And when the pandemic hit, there was a lot of speculation, and I had to just put that aside and stay the course.
Sounds great. Next question is, how do you balance your home life and your career? Now, I'm sure with the pandemic, you've had to, and like you said, you had to kind of lighten your load as far as your employees go. So I'm sure that kind of put a little bit more on your plate. So how did you balance that between your home life and your career?
Well, initially, when everything shut down, the company was still considered an essential business. We service many police, fire, and emergency businesses or municipalities. And with that being said, we were a business that stayed open. The employees that we had to furlough were employees that weren't part of the essential business. So that's where I had to pick up and become more proactive from home to start, but eventually I had the opportunity of staying or going to work and picking up where the gaps were, where the furloughed employees left.
So what do you think was an unanticipated positive silver lining as a result of the pandemic?
Our company became very efficient. It became much better. We were rewarding those that continued working for VSP, those essential workers. And with that being said, with the efficiency and the employees picking up where others left off, we became more profitable, believe it or not. And you don't hear that much. Many companies say that during the pandemic, but we actually became more efficient with the activities of the employees that stayed on. With that being said, the employees that did work, they did work harder, and we bonused them. And by bonusing them, they became also very proactive on treating the company as if it was their own. It just was something that evolved, and it was a wonderful experience to share with the employees, rolling up their sleeves and getting something done. We had to do that in 2014 when we lost a facility during a snowstorm, during the November storm. We lost everything in one night, and all the employees came and picked up their bootstrings and jumped in and saved the company. So this is our second time we've gone through a situation where the company was on the edge and the employees saved it. And I have to say that our management staff appreciated what those employees did for us.
Wonderful. So how should people think about career development while they're working remotely?
Real simple. As kind of to touch on what Janelle's point was, to utilize the internet, self-improvement with training, YouTube training. We have a lot of employees that the only resource they only have is the internet, because our other resources aren't available right now, such as certification groups that our company belongs to get our company moving along to the next level. We don't have those resources right now. So the internet is the only resource we do have. And we are trying to promote that and reward the employees internally by showing their works or showing what they've found and presenting it to the rest of the group.
Excellent. Well, Trace, thank you again for being here today. Thank you for all your great tips. And again, Trace will be available at the end to answer any questions. Thank you, Trace.
Thank you.
Our next panelist is Dr. John McGowan, and he is the GCC Business Employee Skills and Training Center. So I bet he's going to have a lot of great ideas. Hi, John.
Hey, good evening, everyone. And again, thank you for having me. And I'm just, I'm just thrilled to death that get to associate with so many GCC alum and current faculty and staff. So, GCC is a great place. I will say that. And, as far as my degrees, as far as I will say that I was actually a GCC dropout. So I didn't really have much interest in college right after I graduated high school. But, so I went to work for the big yellow box, Kodak. So I spent about 25 years at Kodak and gained a lot of skills. If anything, the one thing that really impacted my life was knowing that in manufacturing, I just felt that I needed to go back to college, especially when you work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because, but GCC as a whole, I really say that if it wasn't for GCC, I wouldn't be in front of you all today. So it had a very positive impact on me in my career path. From there, I went to SUNY Brockport. I got bachelor's degree, BS degree in business admin, and then also in career and education in 2003, and then I went for and I got just recently actually I got my doctorate in psychology and performance and motivation from the University of the Rockies in Colorado. So that definitely taught me how to be a disciplined online learner. So that was pretty cool though. A little frustrating, but it was good. So yeah, that's it for me right there.
So your interest in college definitely changed after a while because you've got quite a bit of it.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you some of the same questions I asked the panelists. What is the one leadership skill you have adapted as far as during the pandemic?
Well, it's funny because all of us, usually most faculty and staff at the college and administration, we've all gone through like Strength Quest. And that's really kind of an assessment tool that kind of measures your strength. So I've always felt I've been always an individual who can adapt to any situation. And I think the one skill that I really pride myself in is adaptability, because especially during the pandemic, all of a sudden now, the best center, we're all working from our remotely, and all the organizations that we do training with and all the training programs that we're involved with kind of got to immediate halt and put on pause. So that was frustrating. It was but challenging. It was actually, if anything, it taught us that how to adapt on the fly and really re-engage ourselves with a different way to think and how to adapt, especially with online delivery of our training programs. So we learned a lot about online, using Blackboard, using other modalities, Zoom, of course. So it really provided an opportunity for us as the best center, especially with the staff, really to how to enter, kind of a new way of thinking, a new way of delivery of our training programs. And it was, and we adapted over time. It was not easy. It took, like anything else, especially myself, I never thought I would be using as much technology today as I have been, especially being a baby boomer. It's like, wow. But it's exciting though. I very enjoy change. I enjoy learning. And it's just one of these things that as a leader, I think that transcends into your staff. If you can just show your staff that you're energized and you're willing to just make an effort. So
it's wonderful. So how do you balance home life and career? Have you been working more from home these days, or how does that work
actually,
for
you know what? I probably shouldn't use the word hate, but I really do not like working remotely at all. I mean, I spent about 2 or 3 months doing that, and then I turned it to Dr. Kate Sheep, and I says, "Kate, I gotta be in the office." So I'm actually at GCC every day, and I have been since September, just because it's just productivity, and I just feel I just accomplish so much more in the office. I don't know if it's one of these mindset things, but I just feel that when we talk about balancing home life and I do have a family. I think that provides a lot of balance for me in my life. I have four adult children and eight grandchildren, and they range from ages 8 months now to 10 years old. So when we get together, it's great. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get together too much as a family, but that kind of provides my I first learned Zoom a lot just from my grandkids, believe it or not. They actually taught me how to use Zoom since I'm 2 years old, and that was pretty cool in itself. And also, I think humor. You got to balance your life with humor. I take a lot of walks, but I try to turn on the TV like when I get home. It could be 5:30, 6, 7 o'clock, and I always love the Andy Griffith Show. So I got to have humor in my life. So I watch that 1 hour per night, believe it or not. And if it wasn't for Barney, I don't know. I'd have a different perspective. But so I think just adding humor, keeping busy. I love to take walks, and I got the track right at the Vendetta Stadium there, right down the road from, because I live right in Batavia. So it's really nice when you can just get out and take walks, get some fresh air. So and I've been able to, believe it or not, dabble a little bit in cooking. I was never a good cook, but I've been learning. So.
I think all of us are picking up some new skills during all this. Why not, right?
Exactly.
Yep. So what was an unanticipated positive silver lining experience as a result of the pandemic?
It's an interesting question. And, you know, pre-COVID, again, 100% of our classes were delivered in person. So it was quite the mindset shift just to educate, not only myself, but educate others of the staff. Just we got to flip the coin and we got to think differently, and we got to do it very quickly. So I think the silver lining in all of this, it just really forced us to think differently as an organization of the Best Center. How do we see ourselves in the future? And the future was like now. And from a sustainability, I think the more you can, again, just learn new skills. And if there's any silver lining, actually, if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think we would be delivering 100% of our courses online, to be honest with you. So, COVID's been challenging for all of us, but I think there's a silver lining in everything we do. And I think it was just, I don't know, I thought myself it was actually good timing. Again, it really forced us to think differently on the fly. And, I talked to many educators in the region, and they say the same type of theme where it really forced educators, especially K through 12, how to think differently. So no different than higher education. We've all had to, change our curriculum, adapt on the fly with technology. So I don't know. I think it's just created many opportunities for us as an organization and the Best Center to really think differently, and then a lot of positive have resulted in that type of thinking. So.
Nice, very nice. So the final question, how should people think about career development while they're working remotely? Or did I just ask you that?
No, as far as career development, I think if there's any silver lining, it's interesting just because I also, when I got my master's from SUNY Brockport, I'm also a national career counselor, and I did some career work on the credit side with students. But it's like anything else, career development when you work remotely. I always remind our staff that we just can't settle. It doesn't cut it anymore in organizations if you're just average. You got to think differently, you got to be productive, and you got to think outside the box to show value and what that value is to your organization. So, it's no different with anyone else. You got to be a self-starter, especially with career development. If you want to see yourself either at a higher plateau career-wise or just keep your job, you really have to make sure that you can show that you can do things differently and think differently. And I think that's helped us as a Best Center and staff, where we can actually showcase our management that we're willing to actually take and go over and beyond and really provide some new programs for the community. One example, we just got accepted for our certified nursing assistant program by the state of New York's education. So we're real excited about that. And again, it's a community need, especially these days with the healthcare environment and probably the turnover. But it provides other opportunities for our community members as far as a career pathway. So I think career development is always evolutionary. I think it's, I look at even myself, again, I worked for Kodak for 25 years, but, like my children are all adults right now, and they think nothing of changing jobs, to be honest with you. And I think that's just the new norm now as far as, being able to adapt and try new things. So.
Very good. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, the Best Center offers all kinds of great services to local businesses. So
Yes,
you'll be
well,
available to. So if you have questions for John, of course, and when we're all done with the panelist discussions, we will open it up for questions. So you'll be able to ask him questions as well. Thank you so much, John. All right. And our final panelist is Macy. Macy, I am so sorry. Is it Reingo? Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Rheingau.
Reingo, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's a tough one for a lot of people.
My name gets mispronounced all the time, so I feel for you, definitely. So again, I'm going to ask you the same kind of questions I asked the other panelists. First of all, what is one leadership skill that you've adapted in 2020?
So, being a counselor at GCC, we are not seeing anyone in person unless, of course, it is a crisis, which even then, we're hoping that we can handle, through telecounseling. So, I have really had to tap into my communication and empathy skills, which I use anyway, but it's much more different through a computer and through the phone. You don't get that normal bond with people. And like even like simple things like handing somebody a tissue box, I can't do that, So I have found myself trying to be a little more relatable than I normally would, especially in the counseling world. It's always focused on them, but I'll say like, you know what, it's been hard for me too, like stuff like that. So a little more self-disclosure from me, which I wouldn't normally give, but yeah, it's been hard on the students for sure. So communication's been huge. I know that this is the next question, so I won't give it away too much, but I do answer my emails on the weekends because of it. So I'm pretty accessible to the students with everything that's going on.
And I got to imagine, I mean, all of us have been going through so much with the pandemic. So I have to imagine that you've been very, very busy through all this.
Yes, definitely busy. Yeah.
But I'm sure you're keeping the students on good track. So thank you for what you do, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to that next question. How are you balancing your home life and your career? You said that you're getting emails at home during the night and you're keeping in touch with your students. Do you have any kind of a personal life besides that?
Great question. Still working on that. Yeah, that one's a tough one. Actually, that one's always been hard for me. Along with counseling, I am also the assistant women's soccer coach, swimming and diving, and lacrosse at GCC.
Oh.
So I'm used to like a 14, 15-hour day, including on Saturdays. So I don't get much of a personal life, and that's just kind of how I've been. I've always been a really hard worker, and being busy is good for me. So when the pandemic hit, it was hard for me. I am not used to sitting on the couch and like having downtime. So as far as balancing, I try to keep a morning routine when I'm home so that I can, keep things together. And I try to not think about work on the weekends. I'll put it that way.
Sometimes that's all we can do.
Yeah.
I understand. What was an unanticipated positive silver lining experience as a result of the pandemic?
So kind of going opposite of what I just said, it was good for me to slow down because I have never slowed down. Prior to even, being in my career, I played soccer at Brockport. And, I played soccer my whole life. So I've always had like an ongoing something to look forward to. And then when I graduated Brockport, I started coaching here. So it was like, I never gave up that kind of busy schedule. So I was able to catch up on a lot of shows that everybody's been always talking about and that I never knew what was going on. So that was cool to have an evening to myself. As far as like work wise, it's been nice to have parking spots in the morning. That's kind of cool. At GCC, it's always crazy getting a parking spot, which I'm sure everybody remembers when they went there. So I get one right in the front row now. Love that. And I don't have to walk in the wind and the ice cold. But yeah, so.
Hey, take what you can get, right?
Right, exactly.
So how should people think about career development while they're working remotely?
So for me, I use the downtime to kind of better myself a little. So I like ordered a bunch of books from Amazon and Barnes and Noble on like certain mental illnesses and like, eating disorders for students in college and, transgender students going to college and how they're dealing with, the new experience. So that's what I did on my downtime is I would read. So I tried to just keep working when I wasn't working, basically. But yeah, that and then kind of what everyone else has been saying, using the internet. I do think keeping the online forum going forward is a good idea, especially with college students, because obviously there's a bunch who are struggling with the online world, but there are other people who are like, this has fit right into my schedule. This has made things easier. So I hope that going forward, classes will be offered both ways. You know, maybe like you have a situation where your teacher's in a room that they can Zoom and there can be people in there as well. But even like little things, like when we have conferences for the counselors in New York, like the New York City counselors have never been able to come to the conferences because it's so far, but now they can make it because we're doing it through Zoom. So stuff like that.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much, Macy. We appreciate you being here today. You had a
Yeah.
great perspective on things. And just to kind of look at, you know, some of these questions for myself, I am in a unique career that, you know, my responsibility is to inform the public. So I haven't really slowed down during the pandemic as far as my main job at the radio station. So we really had to keep on top of it every time there was an update, especially in the beginning, of how many cases in each county. And now we're dealing with letting people know about the vaccines and where they can get those and trying to keep on top of those. So I'm kind of in a unique situation where I'm almost a little busier at work than I normally would be because of all that, which is kind of interesting. We did have part of my job as well is sales. And that's where we've really kind of struggled because, as you may know, radio stations earn their living per se with advertising. So everybody's sales are down. So of course our sales are down, and we had to come up with different ways to make money basically. And one thing we came across was one of our biggest promotions of the year is the Wyoming County Fair. And normally the radio station is there at the fair. We do a whole advertising package where local businesses sponsor it so we can remind people about the fair. So what we did, and it was kind of genius of our program director to come up with this, we did a virtual fair. So again, you go into this new technology to kind of enable that to happen. So because, you know, so many students would participate in the fair, this gave them the opportunity to still do it. So they didn't have to miss out. So what they did was they sent pictures of their projects to us. We included those on our website. And then we had local businesses sponsor that. And basically a reminder, you know, go to our website, wcjw.com, and see the students' projects. So, you know, just like all of you have said, you've had to kind of come up with unique ways to still have success during the pandemic when you normally wouldn't, because you can't do things the way that you can. So you have to find different alternatives to be able to do that. So wanted to just share that with you. So now I guess we're going to open it up for questions. So any of our participants, if they would like to ask any of our panelists some questions, maybe they have some insight or some ideas on things that you're struggling with through the pandemic, and they might have some good ideas on how to address that. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question now, and I'll just ask if maybe each of you could say a couple words on what you would advise or what type of expertise that you might give to someone who has looked at this pandemic and really seen it as a chance to maybe make a leap into a new career or do something that they might not have considered or try to advance in their business. And how would you advise people to stay positive and try something new, or just try a new project in your current job just to get over this uneasiness?
I guess I can at least address that type of, I think that there's no doubt there's many of the population across not only New York State, but across the country that are not working. And that population alone is probably thinking that same thing, Justin, as far as, you know, shouldn't I start a new career? But like anything else, I'm a career changer. Again, many years at Kodak, and I always had a vision of what I wanted to do, especially as my children grew. But I think it just starts by your own mindset and thinking positively. If you want change, change can happen. So, you know, I just think that self-talk is so important in one, and having a vision. I know that we talked a little bit earlier about goals, having goals, and you know, either short-term or long-term. So the biggest difficulty is just getting started, I think. And that's where the frustrating part is sometimes as an individual, because they feel stuck. So, like anything else, I know it's difficult to socialize now or to network, for example, but there's even ways to network like we're doing today. If somebody wanted to, like, just like I did, I just sat down with a counselor at GCC, an advisor, and before I know it, I was in the business program. Then all of a sudden, you gain some confidence, taking some classes, and before you know it, you're graduating. And you know what? You want some more of that. Okay, so I think just your own self attitude and being willing to change. It starts with yourself. So.
Anyone else like to address that question?
I will just say that for me, ultimately, I think people should just do what makes them happy. It's never, at least how I see it, I don't think happiness is a goal in life. It's more of like a byproduct. It's part of the journey. So if what you're doing right now is not something that makes you happy, why not take a leap of faith? No time's better than the present kind of thing. So, and GCC is definitely the place to start. I know from people I counsel that a lot of people are taking that leap of faith now.
Nice.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for anybody? Maybe we can go through each of the panelists. If you can let them know if anybody has any questions for you, maybe they could contact you after this session. If each one of you could just give basic contact information where people could get in touch with you. Bernadette, can we start with you?
Sure. I can be reached best through email, be bbarnes@ummc.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Janelle?
Email would be best for me as well. So it's jbaker@warsawcsd.org.
I think you had some great ideas for teachers too. So hopefully someone in the education field may be listening and they can get in touch with you. Thanks, Janelle.
Yeah, bring it on.
Macy, how about you?
Sorry, I'm on mute. Yes, email for me is obviously, I'm looking at it all the time, so it's the best way to get a hold of me. I will put it in the chat as well, but it is mareyngoudt@genesee.edu.
Thanks, Macy. And Trace, you probably have some great ideas that maybe people that own their own business would be incorporating. How can people get in touch with you if they wanted some information and some advice?
Email is best, and you can reach me at Trace, Trace, at vspgraphicgroup.com.
Perfect, thank you. Did I get to all the panelists then as far as contact information?
Yeah, my contact's right in the chat. So JM McGowan at genesee.edu. And if you even want to, if you know anyone that maybe or yourself want to take a skills building class or course, drop me a line and we'll advise you what we have at the Best Center.
Perfect. And John, the Best Center does offer a lot of great services as far as businesses throughout the area. Where can they get more information on what services you offer there?
Well, you can actually go right to the Best Center through genesee.edu, and you'll notice the Best Center is right there on our website. And also you can get a hold of us 345, that's area code 585-345-6868. So if you want to talk to one of our tech specialists or our secretary or myself.
Perfect. Thank you, John. Are there any other questions before we go? I'm gonna click on this real quick. There's some chats there. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything.
I do have a question for Justin. And do you know if Justin, if there's I know it's a little bit early or premature, that pre-pandemic, I noticed that the foundation hosted a few like alumni events. One was in Buffalo and one was in Leroy. Are there any plans to hold any of those type of events through 2021 at all?
Yeah, I think we'll get back to that in phases. We've done a lot of digital programming. We've done coffee hours and morning programming. We're trying this panel now in the evening. And we're bringing some alumni and foundation events with modifications. We're still holding our golf tournament this July. So if you're a golfer, that's certainly something to try. But even if you're not, there's a nice dinner that comes with that, nice bar, nice auction. It's really, for us, it's venue management. We're gonna do our best to hold Encore. We're going to hold Encore, but our best to do it in person, which is another event that we've done on campus. And we just need to find venues that can work with us, be that bars, restaurants, or outdoor areas. We've done some things in the past at Creekview in Leroy, and as you mentioned, we did the event in Buffalo at Riverworks, which are nice indoor-outdoor venues. So that mitigates the need for folks to have to wear the mask the whole time, or it also mitigates those that may still feel a little unsafe about all this, and it gives them the opportunity to be as close as they want or as distant as they want. So we'll certainly be doing programming, and we welcome Jennifer put our email in there, our alumni office email. We certainly welcome feedback from you all and what you'd like to see. As much as we try to provide programming to every demographic and every type of venue that we can, we get some of our best ideas truly from alums who they saw an event, or they went to an event, or they have an idea for an event they think would resonate with our audience. So we're all about that. And as you started earlier, John, networking is so important, and networking is very hard to do right now. So we'll continue to find as many ways as possible to bring people together. So I think people are yearning to be together now. Be that digitally, be that in person.
Perfect. If you have any follow-up questions after our session, you can actually email alumni@genesee.edu, and we'll be happy to help you with that. I'd like to thank Justin and all of our panelists for being here today. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
And thank you to, of course, all of our participants that took part today and are watching and listening. And again, if you have any questions about anything we've discussed, you can email alumni@genesee.edu. Again, thank you, everyone. Everyone stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you so much.